Hello all. I was born in Gloucester in 1991, and from an early age life always felt difficult to navigate. Both my brother and I have autism, which means we struggle with daily activities that others might take for granted. Simple things like understanding social cues, managing tasks, or feeling comfortable in unfamiliar situations can be overwhelming. I've always felt different, and for a long time I didn't know why. In 2003, my family moved to Wales to be closer to relatives. Moving was hard. It felt like losing the little bit of stability I had. Adjusting to a new environment was terrifying, especially since I lacked a sense of safety and belonging. I've always been scared of being alone and have struggled to feel secure, which made the bullying I faced in school even harder to deal with. It wasn't until later that I was diagnosed with autism, and suddenly the challenges I faced started to make sense. Despite the difficulties, I found something that gave me a sense of purpose: science. Physics, chemistry, and mathematics became my way to make sense of a world that often felt chaotic. Working on electronics, especially building electric bike batteries, was more than a hobby. It was my way of controlling something when everything else felt unpredictable. The structure and logic of science gave me a kind of safety that I couldn't find anywhere else. In 2022, everything changed when my mother died from sepsis. Losing her was like losing the foundation of my life. My brother and I had always relied on her guidance, and suddenly we had to figure out how to navigate things on our own. With both of us having autism, even the simplest tasks can feel overwhelming, and now we had to go through a capacity assessment to see if we could take over the family home. I barely passed, but my brother wasn't as lucky. The idea that we could lose our home, a place that was supposed to be our safety, added another layer of fear and instability to my life. I kept working on electric bike batteries to cope. It was my passion and my way of staying grounded. I focused on building the highest output, smallest size battery I could, but eventually I ended up with too many cells in the house. It became a genuine fire risk. Instead of offering support or understanding, my housing officer, who had no experience working with autistic individuals, obtained a court injunction banning me from keeping any lithium batteries on the property. To make things worse, I was forced to sell my high-power electric bike, the one I had built with my mother before she passed. It was the last thing I had left of her. That was when things really started to spiral. My passion, the one thing that gave me structure and a sense of accomplishment, was taken away from me. Without it, I began to feel lost. Depression set in, and I started having suicidal thoughts almost daily. Fixing electric bikes and seeing the joy on people's faces when I returned their bikes to life gave me a reason to keep going. When that was taken away, it felt like I lost not just my hobby, but a part of my identity. The bike my mother and I built together, well, it's all I have left of her. And now I wasn't even allowed to keep it. The isolation, the constant feeling of insecurity, and the pressure from my housing situation made everything feel impossible. Earlier this year, my sister had to move in with me because her house was unfit to live in. Taking care of her was another challenge on top of everything else. Both of us struggled with day-to-day tasks, and she wasn't keeping the house tidy, often sleeping the days away. It felt like everything was slipping out of control again. My housing officer said it was putting my tenancy at risk, and I had to make the heart-wrenching decision to ask her to leave. I hated doing it, and to this day it makes me feel sick knowing that me and my sister might never speak again. It feels like I lost another piece of my family, and all because I couldn't keep everything together. Autism makes every day a challenge. The world often feels unpredictable, and I'm constantly searching for a sense of safety that always seems just out of reach. But even with all these challenges, I'm still trying to find my way back. My love for science and fixing things hasn't disappeared, but the struggles are real. Some days it feels like I'm fighting a battle no one sees. But my story isn't over. There's one thing I've learned through all of this. Passion is hard to kill. They may have taken away my tools, but they can't take away what I know or what I've built. The road ahead isn't easy, but I'm still here, and that's something. There's so much more I could say, but not enough time to say it. My story is still unfolding, and I'm still here, facing each day as it comes. Maybe one day I'll get to share the rest.